Okay, for lesson 1, basically what we're going to be doing is opening an image via Google, having a look at what properties need to be looked at, then saving that to our desktop, opening it then in Photoshop, and ultimately extracting the section of the image that we want to keep. So we're starting with our front page, which basically is Google. Of course, Google, Bing, whatever search engine you need, it's all the same. Today we're going to search for something simple, something that will have good contrast. Let's just say fish. And of course we do the search and then go to images. Of course, images, there'll be thousands of them, but what we need to do is ensure that we're getting the right sort of image to be used in Photoshop. So we go to the advanced search. Our size is really important. Make sure it's higher than 1024 by 768 to make sure it doesn't pixelate if we make it larger. And it's one that we can work with and have a really good response. Of course, you should also make sure that it's free to share or free to use. If you're going to use it commercially, there's even an option for free for commercial use. And then we do an advanced search. We then have some great images of fish that we are free to use and free to adapt, and the images are not going to be copywritten in any way at all. We're looking for an image which has good contrast with the background. The yellow one here, or I like our clownfish. So I'm going to click on the clownfish and of course view the original image, which is a rather large image because we've made sure of it. Then you move the screen over, and the easiest way to steal an image or to borrow an image is you grab, hold, drag and drop onto your desktop. Now we can minimize our browser window and then open our image using Control click on a Mac or right click if you've got a mouse and open with Photoshop. In this case, I've only got Photoshop CS5 on this computer. You can now access Photoshop CS6 and other editing programs. Now that will take a minute to open. Photoshop is a huge program with lots and lots of different options in terms of changing your image, size, style, etc. Today we're going to do the simple one, and we're going to extract an image because we really don't want the background. We go to Essentials to do this. Photoshop has design windows, painting windows, 3D, motion, etc. And if you drag your screen across, you'll see a double arrow image. And the double arrow image will also give us those in a drop-down menu, and we can select the screen we want to work in. So go down to that Essentials, and that will give us the layers and the tool presets we need. Okay. Here in the Layers panel, we have what is called the background. Any image, when you initially open it, will open as the background image. We can't work with it like that, so we need to go to Layer, New, Layer from Background. Then we best label it. If you label this one Clown Fish, you'll know that if you do a search, you'll be able to find your clownfish. And after duplicating many images and playing with many images, it's best to have them well labelled. Now our layer is unlocked and labelled Clownfish. Means we can start working with it. Down the left-hand side of our screen, our Photoshop screen, we have a set of tools. First, we can change the image size by just looking at the dimensions, the width and the height. Of course, it's in pixels and in inches here. We can constrain the proportions. That ensures the picture remains as wide as it is tall. For example, if you wanted to make your image smaller, which we don't want to do for this exercise, you would click on that and make your image smaller, which then, of course, you have to look at your percentage. And the percentage here is now 33.3, so it's a third of the original or actual size. And then, of course, we can always do Command plus or on a PC Control plus to bring our image back up to 100%. Alright, we can work with this image now at this size, or of course if you've got the original sized image, bigger is even better. We're now going to use what's called the Quick Selection tool, and that's down the left hand side in our selection panel. You may have the magic wand or the Quick Selection tool. Click on it to choose the Quick Selection tool. Our aim here is to move around the inside of the clownfish to ensure that our tool selects only the fish and none of the background. We click and hold as we drag around the fish to create our marching ants. These ensure we are selecting the part of the picture we want to extract. Of course, making those lines really perfect, that can take a bit of time. And I've now jumped and grabbed a bit of the background as well. But that's no problem, we can get rid of that. In fact, there's lots of different ways of ensuring that our selection is perfect. I'm just going to move around this edge here to show that doing it by hand can be good, but then again you've got these problems like I have here. First thing you can do is actually click up on your tool, which gives you the add to your selection and take away from your selection tool. Personally, I prefer to just hold down Option and of course click and drag your line back to the creature. We can also click Command plus to ensure we get a clear image of what we want to select, and it also gives us the more detailed image so we can change where our line finished and started. Click and hold to add to your selection. Hold down Option if you actually make a mistake and go outside of the selection you want to make. I'll just clearly go around the edge here to make sure we get as much of the fish as we possibly can. Time, of course, will determine how perfect your image will be. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Don't need it to be any more accurate than that. I'm just making a little activity that requires an image of a fish. And here I have the selection ready to go. Of course, Command minus will bring the image back into our screen. Next step is to go up to Layer and select Layer, New Layer via Cut. And what essentially that is doing is cutting out what we have selected. Now, if we're not happy with our selection first, we can always go to Refine Selection. And this gives us a special window where we can view it with our marching ants, as we just had, as an overlay, so you can see if the image includes extra information you don't want, on black if that's where the image will end up, on white, once again the silhouette, as it's going to look when it's isolated, and back to our original image with its background. Let's stick back to our marching ants, it's so much easier. There's a lot of things you can do. You can smooth the edge or adjust the edge or do your edge detection, which is pretty clever, and give it maybe 1.0, somewhere between 0 and 1.0, and that will make sure that our selection is neat, smooth, and we want to output that to a new layer. And there we have, when we turn the eye off the background, we have our fish selected. And we can actually do anything we like with that fish now because it's a separate entity. We've taken away its background. If we grab the Move tool, which is at the top of the column of tools, we can see that that fish is now independent of any other image or any other background information. To ensure learning of this procedure, let's go through that process very quickly one more time to add another image to our composition. This time I'm going to do a search in Google for, let's put the fish in something. Let's say a bottle. I'll do a search in Google for a simple bottle. Once again, we have to go through the process once we're in images of ensuring we get a large image. So we go down and we want to make that a large image, any of those large sizes, remembering of course the larger it is, the more megabytes it will take or will be. Okay, so we're also going to go in and make sure that we've got the right size as well as ensuring that it's not filtered by license. We're making sure it's free to use or share. Artists and photographers deserve to be paid for their work as well. We have all of the images that are free to use, and all we need to do is find an appropriate image that's going to be something we can include our fish in. Be creative, think about what you'd like it to look like, what statement you're making. There's lots of different images. I'm going to just choose this water bottle here from the top. Same, open it, go to its original image. That will show you how large it actually is, and that's big enough for what we're doing at the moment. Move the screen slightly to the right so you've got some desktop. Slide it to your desktop. You have it saved very quickly. Once again, we can minimize the browser window. Then right-click on our new image. Open with Photoshop. So we've got our image, and we can see that it doesn't actually fit in the screen, but we can do all of the Command plus to make it larger, Command minus. We need to unlock it as it is a background, so we need to unlock it by going Layer, New Layer from Background, and labeling it Bottle. Now we can grab our Quick Selection tool, and we're going to take away the white background because that's not something we need, and we're going to make it a little bit more creative, maybe add some text into it later on, but all we want at the moment is the actual bottle. If you've got other colours inside of your selection, you will have to make sure that you select them as well. The heart and the blue drop there would have been isolated if we had not selected them as well. Cool, I'm pretty happy with that. Once again, zoom in, have a look at your selection. We can add a bit more here if we want to be really fussy. Take it out a little bit further to get those edges. Same on the other side. There's a little bit there I don't want, so of course I click Option, and that will allow me to get rid of that little extra bit near the neck of the bottle. Once again, it's all how pedantic you really want to be and how big your image is going to be viewed as to how pedantic you need to be. And bring that cap in there. The top's a little bit higgledy-piggledy, but that's okay. We can refine our image as well, refine our selection as well. Of course, we can go Refine Edge, have a look at it in different versions, click, or simply click Smart Radius, and give it a 0.3 or so, because it's such a simple object. Click OK, and then Layer, New Layer. Bring it into perspective there so we can see it. Layer, New Layer via Cut. Turn your eye off your background. Oops, wrong one. That's the bottle. Turn the eye off the background, which is the white, of course, in the next panel. And then we've got the bottle. Now we may want to tilt that bottle on its side or move it around, and we want to move it. There it is. It's an independent thing. So let's now do Control T. T gives us that ability to transform and move the bottle around to where we want it. It'll allow us to make the bottle smaller and larger by just grabbing that corner. And of course we can position the bottle wherever we want on our screen, or whatever position we want it in. Once you've decided how you want to keep it, you return or click Enter. The next step is to go back and organize to get our fish. Click on the tab where the fish is. Use the Move tool, which is the top tool in our toolband. Grab the fish, drag it up. See the first panel, that's our fish. Move over to the next panel, which is the bottle. That will pop open. Keep hold, don't let go, and then let go once you've dropped the fish into your second picture. We've now got our fish directly in front of our bottle. We've got other options, like, for example, opacity. I'm just going to show you now here if we grab the bottle. And we can throw away, that's the background. We don't need the background. So we've got our clownfish. If we put the bottle up in front in the layers, you can see that the bottle covers up the fish. We don't want that, so you need to make sure that your layers are around the correct way. Click on the layer, make sure it's blue, and then you simply drag it below or above the other layer to move them around and put the right image in front. Now to make that fish look like it's in the bottle, we're just going to give it a bit of opacity or make it a little less vivid. And to do that, we go up to the opacity, which is in the layers panel once again. And we're going to choose the drop down and just drag that image a little bit down, and you can see we can make him almost disappear. We don't really want him to disappear, but we can make it just a little bit lighter. Drag and drop, give it a minute, and we can now see our fish almost looks like he's in the bottle. And we can swim him up to the top of the bottle if you want to, wherever you want to place him. And then, of course, if we can select both layers, so if we now go into the Layers panel and select both layers, then click Control T, you can link layers. If you merge layers, you can then join the two layers together, and any move you make at this point will take both images as one image. So once you've positioned the fish and the bottle exactly where you want them, you can then select both the clownfish and the bottle layers by select and then shift select the other one, hold shift and click, and then whatever transformation you do, command T or control T on the PC, will hold both images even though you've still kept the layers separate. And then of course return once you're happy with the way you're positioning things. Have fun. Go and find a few images, make sure they're large, make sure they're free, choose them, drag them to your desktop, open up the image in Photoshop, attempt the extraction, and then later on we can have a look at putting layers on top of it in text. For example, a simple sentence like "there is a fish in the bottle," and then maybe translate that into another language and type it in a second language, or the language that students are learning at the time. Have fun. This has been Photoshop Extraction with Wendy Bellamy. See you next time.